Hey everyone, welcome back to Future Core. My name is Tavian Bella. I'm here with a guest today. This is Sabrina DiDuro. We're here to talk about one of their past games, Freedom Planet. Want to tell us about a bit of yourself and what you do?
Yeah, I am from Central New York. Um, I started in game design when I was 11 with Click and Play.
Oh wow.
I started my own game studio around 2011, and that was the same time that I started working on Freedom Planet. Now our studio has around 20 active members, and we all work remotely from different parts of the world.
That's awesome. You mind telling everyone how Freedom Planet got started for those that aren't in the know?
Yeah, when I was younger, I was part of the Sonic fan gaming community, and one of the things that they did was like make proprietary physics engines based around the Sega Genesis Sonic games. There was one for Click Team Fusion called Sonic Worlds that I decided to play around with one day, and that's kind of how I got the idea in my head of mixing up the Sonic formula a little bit, and from there that eventually evolved into Freedom Planet.
Yeah, and I've played like quite a bit of Freedom Planet. I'm sad to say I haven't beat it yet, considering I've like been busy, whatnot. But like, all the characters are like amazing, and the way they play is awesome. They all have movesets that are very unique. Which character did you have the most fun making, and how hard was it to make their desired movesets and techniques work?
And this might be apparent in the way that the game is like designed around her, but Lilac is my favorite.
Yeah, I love her
Um,
Dragon Dash.
yeah, the idea behind the Dragon Boost was that it'd be kind of like a more mobile version of the Spin Dash because you can still move around and stuff while she's charging it up, and you're not like forced to stop and then hold down the crouch and then tap the jump button like you are in Sonic. You just like press one button and you're there.
So, other than the main characters, some of the bigger like bosses have like a lot of moving parts to them. Fighting one of the generals, and he's like in a huge mech, and there's so many moving parts that reminded me of Genesis Contra games and Gunstar Heroes. Yeah, feelings of that
Yeah, that
were
was my
almost.
main inspiration behind that. But another reason I did it is because like I'm not like a top tier animator. So like one of the techniques that I like to use is I like to build larger bosses and characters out of static sprites and then move those around with either like an animation system or with plain mathematics.
Yeah, it does look really impressive. Like most all the bosses were pretty like insane with how they move.
That was probably the most fun that I had, like out of all the things that I worked on for the game.
And it really shows. The game does have like a lot of unique assets and landscapes for like each level. Did you use the built-in Fusion sprite editor for that, or did you use outside programs?
The for like the foreground for most of the foreground sprites and for like the characters and stuff, I used Fusion's built-in picture editor. For larger things such as background pieces, I used Photoshop. And what I would do is I would take photograph references that I took and like compress down the colors so that like I have a smaller palette to work with, and then I tweak them by hand to fit with.
So, dare I ask, if you have one, what was your favorite feature in Click Team Fusion?
It's hard to pinpoint down a specific feature. But as like someone who's just like beginning to learn how to make a commercial game, I think like the event editor made it easy for me to understand, as opposed to like traditional programming. That sort of like spreadsheet type layout I think is good for like quickly prototyping new ideas. But as I worked on the game, I realized that like it has like limitations. Like I would say that Fusion is ideal for like smaller projects just to get like an idea out there is like quickly. Um, but Freedom Planet is the kind of game that definitely pushes the software to its limits.
Yeah, I would say so because it is really is a very impressive game and one of the most impressive games I've seen done on Fusion.
A big part of what made Freedom Planet work in the Fusion engine is, of course, the Sonic Worlds engine, and I'm really thankful that the creators of the engine allowed me to use it commercially.
Yeah, I dug into it quite a bit. There, like for the title screen alone, there is over 1,000 events. It blew my mind just the effort that went into just the title screen and the whole thing alone.
Yeah, one of the things I had to be careful about when working with the engine was to make sure to disable any events I wasn't immediately using so that the gameplay could remain smooth, at least until we got the game ported over the Chowdron, because I got the help of NP2 Games with porting the game from Fusion's native code based over to a custom engine called Chowdron, which is what makes it possible for the game to play on consoles. And in addition to that, it also like optimizes the code so that it runs a little more smoothly.
Yeah, because the title screen had stated that it was turbocharged by MP2 games. And other than porting, did they help with like any other parts of the development? Like you said, optimization, but
Yeah, other than porting was what they did mostly, but they also helped implement multiple languages into the game.
eh, awesome.
Um, because I talked to some people about localizing the game to different languages such as Japanese and Korean and German and stuff. Uh, so MB2 also helped add some new conditions to the game code that would swap out the appropriate menu text and other graphics.
Really resourceful. So I'm gonna quickly gloss over this question here. What happened to the PS Vita port? From interviews, it sounded like you were pretty hyped for it.
Yeah, it looked like things were gonna go pretty good as far as a Vita port was concerned, but right around the time that we had finished preparations for the Switch port, um, Sony announced that they were discontinuing the Vita, and at that point, it was way too difficult to secure like dev kits and stuff since they were starting to close it down for new developers. So it was just bad timing, I would say.
Yeah, that's a shame. So
Also planned on a 3DS port, but that was more because the game wouldn't run very well on the 3DS. MP2 actually got a prototype working on the 3DS, but it ran at like 2 frames per second, and we weren't comfortable with the kinds of cuts we would have had to make to like the quality of the graphics and stuff in order to get it at an acceptable speed.
yeah, I hear the 3DS wasn't that easy to develop for unless you did it from the ground up. They at least got it
Yeah, that makes
working,
sense
so
to me.
that's an achievement within itself.
Yeah, definitely. I was surprised to see it.
So for the sequel, which I played a bit of over at PAX South, and I'm really hyped for it. I heard that Christian Whitehead, who is an X Fusion developer and the creator of Sonic Mania, was helping out with the development of the sequel. Is it true? And if so, what will they be contributing to the game, if you can tell me?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Sonic Mania, two of the biggest developers for Sonic Mania were Christian Whitehead and Simon Tomley. They formed kind of a two-person duo for programming for Mania. Whitehead helped me with Freedom Planet 2's physics engine. I basically contracted him to build the physics engine that we used in Unity, and then after that, basically handed it over to us and gave us free reign to build on top of it.
And that's really cool because when I was playing it, the controls felt really fluid compared to the previous game, and there was a lot more camera work going on with like a lot of zooming in and zooming out.
Yeah, that was one of the upsides of Unity that I wanted to take advantage of. Whitehead built the engine to like be vector based instead of hard pixels, which allows for screen zooming and stuff. And the engine is also based on delta time instead of hard frames, so we can do smooth slowdowns and also potentially support higher frame rates.
It again, like I'm really hyped for it. It's a blast to play, and just knowing like all the names behind this project and how great it looks, like I feel very confident about the success of the franchise.
Feel really excited about it too.
Gotta ask, what was the biggest lesson you learned from working on Freedom Planet? And do you have any advice for future developers?
I learned quite a few things from the original Freedom Planet. If I had to pin down one thing that was pretty valuable for me, I would say it's the value of working in a team. Because up until Freedom Planet, I had been a solo indie developer, and I had created like a few like small freeware games on the side. Like I was like working like normal jobs at the time. It's good. It's good for like if you're a hobbyist, but if you want to like go commercial and like make it like your full time job, I would definitely recommend teaming up with people who have like a similar mindset and who can complement your own skills. because like I'm not the best with sound, music, and audio work. So having like a team of musicians and sound designers on a team was invaluable. So I would definitely um, look into that, even if it's just like working remotely with someone like in a different part of the world, because the internet definitely makes that a lot more easier to like communicate and share resources and stuff.
Definitely. I've been finding a lot of uses out of Twitter. One of my first few collabs I did was over on Newgrounds, where they had a great section for finding other people to work with. Any resources you recommend for finding other developers?
Back when I started out, I looked around the TIG source forums for work, and like as far as voice acting goes, I also posted auditions on the voice acting pro boards. I'm not sure if it's still around. If you know where to look, you can definitely find people who are willing and interested, especially if you're kind of like hovering around the same community of people who are interested in the same types of games that you want to make. Like with me being part of the Sonic fandom, I was able to like start off there with some connections that were able to help me out.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this. And like I know your time is very valuable, and I thank you for taking the time doing this for us.
No problem.
Do you have anything you'd like to plug in about Freedom Planet 2? Any games or devs you want to give a shout out?
Of course, Freedom Planet 2 is still in active development. We don't have a release date yet, but I'm really hoping that it'll be like sometime this year. That no one's more excited about it than I am. Like I'm really proud of the work that we've done since we announced it in 2015. I can't believe it's been 5 years already.
Time flies.
But if mom is watching this or listening to this, hi mom.
Well, that's about it. Thank you again for doing this for us. And with that, that's the end of this interview. Thank you.